U.S. Farm Report at the Ag Connect Expo is brought to you by Case IH. For those who demand more, Case IH delivers more choices, more power, more accuracy, more efficiency, and more access to people.
Well, here we are, had a very lively discussion with the first half here at Ag Connect Expo with our report on Roundtable today. Jim Wiesmar is our guest, along with Chip Flory and Bob Utterback, and we have a lot of things to talk about. Didn't get to everything that our audience here asked us so today, so I'm going to start a little bit about cap and trade, and then we might get back to ethanol a little bit, and I think that is in your bailiwick, Jim Wiesmar.
I'll bottom line, because my formal presentation later this week will show it, but House Ag Committee Chairman Colin Peterson, Democrat from Minnesota, earlier this past week said even though he voted for the climate change bill June the 26th in the House, if it were to come up again, he would vote no. I think that says a lot. On the Senate side, they have not yet passed a bill. They do not have the votes. Bottom line for agriculture, USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack has cited the benefits to U.S. agriculture. There's been very little analysis. You will not see cap and trade passed in 2010 if it ever can get passed.
Next question came up is acreage battle. I'm going to come back to you in a minute, Jim. Acreage battle.
Yeah, and that 6.3 million acre cut in wheat acres, winter wheat acres from a year ago, that's going to free up a lot, because a lot of those acres were in the eastern belt with the soft red area.
Didn't we have some CRP land also come out?
And some CRP land coming out.
And a lot of those acres, how many of those wheat acres were double crop beans? So now you're going to have full season beans.
Exactly. You know, you're going to have full season beans, and that made it a lot easier for beans to hold on to the number of acres that it has to have for the 2010-11 marketing year to provide enough supply out there. But corn cannot, in the December 10 contract, cannot give up at this point. It's got to battle for some additional acres. It's easier to buy those acres now than what it was on Monday. It's easier to buy those acres. So even in an acreage battle, we've got to remember that the price can go down, but if beans go down at a faster rate, then you're moving acres over to corn. Okay? And with the cut in input costs, you know, your fertilizer costs are about half of what they were a year ago. It's easier for corn to get their acres.
And a lot of guys increased bean acres last year, so they really want to roll back to corn this year.
Exactly.
A lot of guys are, but they got the aflatoxin. I'll just throw that equation into the Ohio and the southern Indiana. So it's going to be kind of a mixed bag by regions. I think there's not going to be any clear picture there.
I agree. And the field conditions were rutted up in the eastern belt. There's just a lot of issues that are. It's going to make it tough to get a good early start again.
It's going to be a lot less acreage battle. I would say. You've got 6.2 million acre more winter wheat. 4 to 4.5 of that will go some combination corn, soybeans, and the rest Milo maybe, and other crops. Then you have 2.7 million acres of CRP ground which matured. Not all of that will come in. But if it were to come in, more likely soybeans. It's in winter wheat areas, so more could go into either. Well, if they've already made the decision on winter wheat, Milo or beans. And to group this again, the yield for corn, which went up, it did not surprise Informa. We were higher than most in yields all the way through. So what it told you is that USDA consistently underestimated the corn crop throughout the year. Once they had the production evidence of what harvest we had, they saw a clear indication. Also, what does that mean for 2010 yields? As we go more and more with super stacks, etc., showing the ability of that great corn plant to withstand a lot of problems, not only at the too wet, but also the too dry. I would surmise that most people's trend yields for the future are too low.
I want to ask Bob Utterback, but in light of everything that we've said so far, when would be a good time, December 10, in order to take contracts on your corn and beans, or when are we going to sell to make money? Based on this last week,
we're trapped.
Trapped.
A lot of farmers in old crop and new crop. I think a large percent of the crop is unpriced. I think farmers are really in bad position here. They're now backed themselves into a May, June, July weather scare, which is probably a 1 in 5 event. And I don't think we can make new highs. And I told a guy I put $1,000 bill on the table. If December corn to go back to 450, you will not sell, because what it gets to go to 450 is weather. So that's the catch-22 I see shaping up. But what we want to get there, you guys can't sell corn in the first week of June when it's 6 inches high and turning white because we haven't rained for 3 weeks. And that's what I think it's going to take now to get the market back.
210 crop. Anything look out there real quick? We got less than 30 seconds, 20 seconds.
Beans is probably the worst commodity. I want to sell beans when a strong rally back above, and corn too. Basically, be a strong seller and bounces.
Okay, I wish we had more time, guys.
You bet.
We'll be back with more U.S. Farm Report in just a moment.